The road net of the Japanese in his last stand afforded him both lateral and vertical communication. But the battleships and cruisers standing off the southeastern tip of the island repeatedly hammered away with interdiction fire by day and harassing fire at night. The roads became almost useless to the enemy. The Japanese troops were forced to divide into 3 groups. All 3 positions made the enemy more vulnerable than ever to naval gunfire. Now the ships were able to fire in all directions to disrupt his supplies and wither the remnants of his defenses. South of Yanabaru, the enemy concentrated his forces on the reverse slopes of the hills. But these slopes were open to the sea. Rocket and mortar craft completely broke up the Japanese concentrations. As the land forces advanced, the call continued for rockets and mortars around the southern tip of the island. Slowly and methodically, the support ships themselves progressed through an arc of 270 degrees from Buckner Bay to Sanagashima, squeezing in the already tactically defeated Japanese. The night harassing fire was of sufficient intensity to almost silence the enemy's guns. This permitted the land forces artillery to fire at will, breaking up counterattacks and giving direct close support to our troops. To locate signs of Jap infiltration or counterattacks, the harassing fire was interspersed with illuminating fire. Over 1,000 star shells were fired each night. Thus, by a tremendous volume of fire and the capability of the ships to move into positions required by the targets, the eastern position of the Japanese fell. The western sector fell next, and finally, after 80 days, the southern position of the enemy was overrun, completing the occupation of Okinawa. For 80 days and 80 nights, the ships had fired in support of the land forces. Battleships, cruisers, and destroyers had stood off a shore only 325 miles from the Japanese homeland to deliver continuous fire for almost 3 months. 650,000 rounds of 5-inch or greater caliber were delivered. 33,000 tons of projectiles fell on the island. The ships had brought to bear over 439 big guns. This was the equivalent of 39 field artillery battalions, but with even greater caliber. 156 support craft had played havoc with the coastline and coastal caves to which the Japs clung so tenaciously. Despite the fanatical opposition of the Kamikaze Corps, fire was delivered up to 80% of the time that the ships were in the area.